My vulva, vulva and me. My vulva, my vulva and me. My vulva and me.
Welcome everyone to the Save and Sexual Takeover episode of My Vulva and Me Season 3. This is episode 7, y'all. We almost done. Oh my goodness. We've been through so many great interviews, talking to so many great people, and today is going to be nothing short of amazing. I am your host, Brittany Broaddus-Smith, founder of the intimacy firm and creator of My Vulva and Me, and visionary author of the My Vulva and Me anthology for, by, and about Black women. And I come to you today with the absolute pleasure to facilitate a discussion between two of my favorite people in the world in the field of sexology. I look up to them more than they know. When I first learned of Dr. Amanda, I was like, that's what I want. And then when I met Dee, we were dancing together, barely knew each other, dancing and lip syncing and karaoke. And I was like, you are my people. So I love them. I know you all are going to love them. So as you know, as per protocol on My Vulva and Me, we let our guests introduce ourselves. So let's start with Dr. Amanda and then Dee.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Amanda Nicholson. I also go by Dr. Amanda or Dr. Mandy. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist based out of the Metro Atlanta, Georgia area. And I have a private practice called In the Nick of Time Therapy, where I service Black women of faith who are exploring their spirituality and their sexuality so they can see how they can let them to meet in the middle and they can live that life that they love. I also have a platform called The Prude's Guide to Intimacy, where I do sex education, things about relationships, and of course, I talk about the sexy and the spiritual as well. So I'm super excited to be here.
Yay! Thank you so much, Dr. Amanda. Dee?
Good afternoon, evening, whatever time you're watching. I'm glad to greet you. My name is DeAndrea Blaylock-Johnson. I am a licensed clinical social worker based out of St. Louis, Missouri. And I'm the owner of Sankofa Sex Therapy, where I service individuals and those in all types of relationships. Just work through their own and toward their own self-defined goals. I've been in the field of mental health for over 15 years. In addition to owning my own practice, I also serve as a facilitator with an organization called Theater of War Productions, where I've had 2 off-Broadway runs with the critically acclaimed Antigone and Ferguson. Also, I provide therapy from a Christian perspective when it is requested by my clients. I have taken some additional seminary training just to make sure that I have a good foundation for that. And I am a baby sneakerhead and a hunter of fabulous earrings. So I am very happy to be here.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. Didn't I tell you all that they were amazing? Like, you love them, you want to be their friend, but I am very particular. Follow them, right? And participate in all that they have, but also they're mine. So I am that friend. Like when your new friends come over, I'm like, how you doing? Like I am, yes, very much so. I am that friend. But I love y'all, and I know that everybody is going to love you all as well. So make sure we'll definitely get into where they can reach you, where they can stay in contact with you, how they can support you towards the end. But I am just so excited about this conversation because as a Christian sexologist, I often get that the conversation of folks saying like, I've never heard anybody doing what you do. And I'm like, it's not just me, we out here. And so I love any opportunity to connect with people I consider my sisters, my co-laborers, for y'all churchy folk, my co-laborers in the kingdom and all, and all of that. So we are going to jump into our game. And I can't sing, but we're going to sing today, okay? So this is how the game works. I'm going to give you the lyrics to a famous gospel song. And I want you to sing it, but to the melody of another gospel song. Okay? So I'll give you two gospel songs, I'll give you one lyric, another song, and then you have to switch the melodies. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll do a trial run. So you can even pick whatever lyrics you want. So we'll do that. That may be easier. So melodies from heaven, but make it "This Is My Exodus." I know Donald Lawrence, "This Is My Exodus."
I can't think of the melody for it.
I can't think of the melody, but this is Melodies for Heaven is playing in my head right now, though. I'm jamming.
This is my Exodus. This is my Exodus.
Oh, this hard.
DeAndrea Johnson and Donald Lawrence did that one.
So then it would be Melody from Heaven.
Yeah.
That's hard. That's hard.
That's it. Okay, that's great. All right, so D, so you will go with you. Let's do Silver and Gold.
Uh-huh.
But to stomp.
Okay. All right, let me get I'm doing the remix in my head. All right.
I've been going through some things that's really got me down.
So the lyrics to Melodies from Heaven, no, I'm sorry, the lyrics from Silver and Gold to Stomp.
Yes.
Okay. Don't give me a mansion, just give me something on top of
All right, y'all give me one. See if y'all can give me one. Let me try.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna say the lyrics from do you have a favorite song by Tasha Cobbs?
Oh yeah. For Your Glory.
Yes. Okay, I was thinking For Your Glory. All right. So the lyrics of For Your Glory to the melody of let's do Ricky Dillard.
Which one?
So we gonna do
I don't know
his version. He just redid More Abundantly. So he didn't do it, originally, but I come that you might have life more abundantly.
For Your Glory, I will do anything. For Your Glory, I will do anything.
Just to see you.
Just to see you. Oh God!
This is challenging.
That was so hard, but that was fun. Thank you guys. Thanks for indulging me and my foolishness. But I love it. So this, as I said, this is the Stage of Sexual Takeover episode titled Black Women Love Jesus and Sex.
Amen.
I mean, is that fact or fiction? Black women love Jesus and sex. Fact or fiction?
Fact.
Straight facts.
It's a fact. And so people try to make us one way. You know that all of the stereotypes and the sad, tired tropes of Black womanhood as it relates to sexuality, similar sad, tired tropes as it relates to people of faith. We are not one way. We are not a monolith. We can love both. They are not oxymorons. And here's the quiet as it's kept. God created sex, and we are his creation. So who should indulge in it the most but his children?
I keep telling you to pass the collection plate around this way.
Let me see what I got around here.
Oh, child, honey, I love it. It's gonna get real churchy in here. I just want y'all to understand, and I hope y'all prepared. But it's gonna be real, and I'm very excited. But so why don't we just jump right on in and just what are the biggest misconceptions that you've found in your work that some of your clients come into counseling with you regarding sexuality as a person of faith?
One thing that I see often is women not understanding that they have the freedom to really enjoy sex. They may have been taught that, given the message with the impurity culture of don't have sex, don't have sex. And then when you get married, well, you're supposed to swing from the chandelier, but you ain't taught me how to properly secure the chandelier. You ain't taught me how to stretch. Like,
How to
what am I
grip.
supposed to do? Listen.
Ain't fortified them. They ain't put them nail bolts in the ceiling.
Nothing. But it's just that message of, give it to your husband so that your husband doesn't get it from somewhere else. But no messages of sex is something that you should enjoy, and how to enjoy it and how to get in touch with that pleasure. Just really feeling that you have that freedom to enjoy sex and sexuality. So that's one of the biggest things that I see.
Absolutely. Thank you. Dr. Amanda, what about you?
And one of the biggest things that I see is the misconception around submission.
Ooh, I told y'all. Go on, teach the people. Tell them what it is.
So the misconception around submission and this idea that, you're just supposed to automatically fall in line with your husband. And of course, since we are churchy, most of this will be from a heterosexual perspective. But, my thing is like, I can't follow nobody who can't lead. And half of these men can't even lead in the bedroom, but I'm going to back up a little bit. So yeah, this idea about submission and the misconception around it, and also the fact that people only, nobody reads the verses before it talks about submitting to your husband, where it's talking about everybody having a submissive spirit and being servants. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And and it's so interesting when you think about. I did a post about. I did a TikTok from the Cosby Show with Claire Huxtable, when she was talking about serve who, as in serve your man, and really just unearthing. Because the thing is that submissive, a lot of us hear submissive but think subservient, and that's not what the Bible says or meant at all. And there's a lot of times that you are submissive to the point of silence. That can be sin as well, because as a helpmeet, and we get real Bible, real church, you're supposed to be there to serve as a helpmeet. That means sometimes you got to open your mouth. Sometimes you have to shut some stuff down. And if you just, whatever you like, you ain't in right standing with the Lord either.
Mm-mm. No.
Right. And so for whatever reason, we've idolized marriage. We look at singleness as single folks, single women, particularly, are lepers in community. So that I find sometimes, even with a lot of my clients, they've gotten to this space where they've got married. And like I would say often, they don't want to knock nothing over. So they just sitting pretty, make sure everything is just so, not saying too much, not doing too much, because they want to keep earning their keep by how much they can bear. And so then then they got aught with God, because everything that they've been told or taught or expected that marriage would be, it's not. And it's troubling, because submission, every good relationship, even folks who aren't believers, every good relationship, there is you're going to submit to something. It just happens, and that's not a bad word, but when we hear it, we think doormat. And a lot of us fall in line to be that doormat, and that's never what he intended to be. So let's think about, when we think about that, that's a good point, Dr. Amanda. What are the implications as far as relationship satisfaction when you think about submission as subservience? Like when you are Coming to America, whatever you like, how does that impact the relationship?
I think if we take on the idea of submissive the way we are taught in church, right? So a lot of us, we go to church and we listen to the preacher, but we don't do studying outside of church on our own, and we don't dig. And if we continue to do that, we miss the point of what it is to be submissive. So like if you all are my friends, I should have a submissive spirit with my friends too, to be able to serve and do those things so that we can have this reciprocal relationship, right? And when you were talking, it made me think of I don't know if y'all watching this season of Married at First Sight.
Oh, girl.
But when you were talking, it made me think of Paige and Chris from this season of Married at First Sight, and how much suffering Paige was going through to make things work. And she kept saying, I feel like this is God's calling for me. And I'm like, God don't want us to have no struggle, love. And I'm tired of y'all just throwing God's name out there like that. But anyway.
God up there like, nah, fam, keep me out of that. I ain't got nothing to do with that.
I ain't say that.
Right. I didn't manifest struggle love for you. So I feel like those implications there are just unsatisfactory relation in the relationship, right? Your voice isn't being heard. You don't feel like that you can, speak up for what you want. If you can't speak up about, I don't like the dishes right there, right? How are you going to tell somebody that I need you to move over a little bit because my spot this way?
I should have worn my It's the Clip for me shirt, because that is really what, Black women's orgasms are godly. That's what my shirt says. I'm realizing that this is backwards on the screen, but that's what it says. But that's really what It's the Clip for me was created for that very thing, to be able to say, when I'm laying there and I know, like, you 2 inches to the left, and instead of me just sitting there and just letting sex happen to me and not being that active, mindful participant in the overall experience, to be able to say, babe, that's good, thanks, but it's the clip for me. Can you come on, slide on over? And the thing that is a mindset where women actually feel like you're taking a shot, or it's like a shot at a man's ego if you give him instructions and direction during sex. And then conversely, there are men who come into the experience. I know a couple where the husband, she enjoyed during oral sex, she enjoyed like digital finger penetration during oral sex. That was her jam, right? For years, she didn't say anything to him about it, but eventually one day she was just like, in the context of like, use your finger, right? He didn't want to do it. Eventually he did it, and then he felt the way afterwards. They had a whole attitude for a long time. She finally got a chance to talk to him about it, and he said, using your finger is cheating. And when she's telling me the story, I'm like, cheating like infidelity? I'm so confused. Like, what's happening? And he felt like he wasn't good at what he was doing if he used his fingers, because oral sex is oral sex. It only requires the tongue. So if he uses his finger, he's cheating. And then that's not really him giving her the orgasm.
But see, here's the thing. What if you really are not that good at doing oral sex? Honestly.
I wasn't going to say it, but
I am. Because and wanting that additional stimulation doesn't mean that you're not good. But it's just, even if you aren't that good, wouldn't you want your partner to feel comfortable enough to let you know that this is what I would really like to experience? I want to experience it with you. Yeah. And so this is what's going to help me to get there.
And that's the issue when we have all of these supposed to be. I was having a conversation on my page the other day. I posted a reel about what happens when you've been taught that abstinence will earn you a husband. And then there's like conversations in the comments about the purity culture and mostly being projected on women, which is correct. It's very much vagina shaped. But what happens is that men are also negatively impacted because they are not being held accountable in the same way. So they grow up without the emotional intelligence, without the relationship viewpoint. They have a distorted view of what a healthy relationship is, and what partnership looks like as well. So while their toxic experience is, I guess by default or vicarious or whatever the word is, not as direct as women, they still suffer as well, because they're still not fully functioning human beings. And then that gentleman had this idea that sex is only one way. And in his head, he's committed to her pleasure, but a pleasure that fits in the box of this one way. So it's like, I can't, it's like almost like if I bowled a strike, it doesn't count if I got the guardrails up. A strike is a strike. When the score go up there, they're not going to know what, because at the end of the day, I'm not thinking about that. But it's that mindset that we are both in here, like functioning blind in marriages and things like that. Even if you are one of those who feel like, sex isn't until marriage, sex is between men and women. That's your mindset. And, a lot of times, as you said, Dr. I'm talking about, like most times, heterosexual cisgender relationships, that's why the orgasm gap is the way it is, because of this mindset. So how do we, like in a practical way, for either professionals, you can choose to speak either professionals that are working with these individuals or those individuals that want to like take practical steps to shift it, what can they do?
I think one thing that's really important is to really think about what it is that you want out of your sexual experience. And we talk a lot about pleasure versus goal-oriented sexual encounters, right? So if your goal is to have an orgasm every single time, you and your partner need to talk about what's going to get you to an orgasm every time you all are having sexual intercourse, right? Whatever sexual intercourse looks like for you and your partner. But if you are pleasure oriented, the conversation still needs to be the same. So for a lot of us, a lot of people in general, when we talk about sex, it's from a goal-oriented perspective, right? Our goal is to get an orgasm versus being pleasure-oriented and enjoying the moment, right? And I think we need to decide in our relationships or have conversations with our partners about what it is that we are expecting out of our relationship. And I actually feel, honestly, if more of us were pleasure oriented, we would experience more orgasms, right? Because we aren't so focused on the orgasm, we're focused on the moment and experiencing the pleasure and being able to guide, like, hey, I need you to move those 2 inches over here, or wait a minute, just thank you, right? We focus on our pleasure, maybe we could get to whatever that goal is more often.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Dee, what do you think are some practical approaches to shifting this mindset?
I think really focusing on, as Dr. Mandy was talking about pleasure, honestly, getting focused on what it is that brings you pleasure. And thinking about Christian women, oftentimes we are discouraged from self-exploration. And so even for someone who does not desire to masturbate, still learning to understand your own body, knowing your own anatomy, knowing what feels good, and just giving yourself permission to explore that in different ways. And so not even just sexual pleasure, but thinking about other things that you enjoy doing, those different practical things. It's like, you know what? I really do like anchovies on my pizza. I don't, but just giving yourself the opportunity to explore the things that you like and understanding that it's not selfish.
Yeah.
And once you're able to establish that, I think it then becomes easier to then be a bit more clear about what feels good as it relates to sex.
Yeah, that's so good. And what it does is it fights against what I call the grin and bear Olympics that I feel like a lot of Black women have found ourselves consistently playing in every single day, is how much can we take it, almost to the point in certain spaces where our worth and value is rooted in how much we can bear and do it with a smile, right? So that outside of sex, and this is really the thing about like this idea of being saved and sexual in a holistic, mindful fully autonomous approach to being spiritual and sexual is really looking at, as you said, the whole of the thing beyond sex. Because even in relationships, once you get married, sex is always a very important part, is a very small part of what a marriage is going to consist of. And when you are in, I mean, though you are a sexual being, you are functioning in that role as in sexual activity, a very minute part of your overall life. And so if you are not able to speak up in that area, you're not going to speak up in the doctor. And Black women are very highly disregarded in healthcare. You're not going to speak up at your job when your boss is being trash, or if you have a Karen, you're not going to be able to, push back on that. And friends, like you're going to still, function in that people pleasing mentality, which a lot of it is just learned behavior because we've not been affirmed in a way that says you can have your voice and your voice matters. So when folks push back, and some may find this to be a reach, but I don't, when folks look back and say there's certain conversations regarding sexuality as the overall concept that you should have with children. When you go back to when you start doing head, shoulders, knees, and toes, and you add in vulva, labia, those are the building blocks of what we're talking about right now. When you give them the authority to say, I don't want to sit on Uncle Bruce's leg. That's what this is. When you ask, and the thing is that, and I'm saying this, and talking to myself, because I don't do no lap sitting. That's something that was always, I don't do none of that. My kids never did that. We don't do the kissing in the mouth and all that. That's not what we did. However, I'm learning from folks like Melissa Pinto from Sexuality with Families and Dr. Lexx and all of them, asking if I can take their picture, before asking are they okay with me posting on social media, asking if I can have a hug. And even as, I'm a sexologist, I know the rules of consent and all that, but even that, because it was muscle memory, I remember Melissa posted once, was a question of I walked in on my child masturbating, and now, I don't know what to do. And she responded, said, next time, make sure you apologize and make sure you knock the next time or something like that. And I was like, nah. In my house that I pay for? Oh no, baby, I'm not. And I had to sit with that thing for a little bit, but I'm recognizing all of those, so the expectation of privacy is not afforded to us, much like the expectation of innocence is not afforded to little Black kids. And so that, again, autonomy and agency and giving them a voice and being able to say, I'm full, I don't want to eat anymore, as opposed to you will sit there until that plate is clean. We've all been there. We've all been at the table till 11 o'clock at night. Or you put the food in your mouth, go to the bathroom, spit it out, you saw it, come back. Because I'm not eating the llama beans. I'm never eating the llama beans. Let's just call it what it is. And so all of that is really connected in how we see ourselves and really ultimately how we see God. And like we said earlier, God's up there, keep my name out of that. We are putting a lot of sanctions and expectations and requirements of functions of people that really, I'm not looking at my pastor sideways. I'm mad at God. I'm mad at God. And so what then, when we think about what is one of those things that as a Black woman who loves Jesus, as a sexuality professional, what was the aha moment for you when you were like, all of these things work together? These are not separate parts. This needs to be like this.
For me, I think my own personal journey of learning to enjoy sex and still being able to lift holy hands and know that that was okay. I like that. It was like, this isn't opposite. These things can coexist. And I think that was one of the biggest things for me when that clicked. It was like, I can be in my body and enjoy this activity with my, then late husband. And then go to church and we be on praise and worship together and lift holy hands and bless the Lord. And praise and worship was amazing. Like, I think that was one thing that really helped it to click for me.
That's good. That's good.
Ooh, that's beautiful. I think for me, I think it clicked for me early on, but I tried to fight the click because, you know, people are telling you like, that's wrong. And, you know, for all my PKs, granddaddy on the pastor, grandma first lady, you know, stuff. I think for some of those things click and we kind of like, well, wait a minute. And you still continue to explore those things. And I think for me early on, like as a teenager, you know, your body starts to change and you feeling stuff and you like, well, wait a minute, y'all said I ain't supposed to do that until I'm married, but I feel stuff right now, right? And you start exploring things and reading things. And I think for me, it clicked like around, like probably around high school before I was sexually active is when it clicked for me, mainly because one, I was seeing people in high school who identified as trans and people who were in same-sex relationships, and they were happy and they were enjoying their lives, you know, as happy as you can be in high school, going through those things, but they were living their truth then. And then you hear these messages at church and you're kind of like, well, wait, God said to love your neighbor. So I'm supposed to just love these people, right? And not judge them. So I think for me, it clicked early on because I started to say, you know, well, none of this is my business.
For the people in the back, say a little louder.
None of this is my business, right? All God wants us to do is mind our business and to be respectful and loving to other people. And I think I realized that very early on in life. And still as I grow, and one thing I think people feel that if you're a Christian and a sexologist, you got it all figured out and you still don't struggle sometimes with those things, especially when you're a scholar. And there is a lot of struggle because you're like, okay, Jesus, you calling me to do this? You sure? All right. Right.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I say, are you sure once every 30 days?
Yeah, you're like, are you sure? All right, I'm gonna keep typing this up right here. And I feel like once I realized like, oh, God want me to mind my business and respect other people, I think that's when it was kind of like, oh, I'm cool. Everybody else cool. So I'm cool. Now I'm just keep on loving Christ and figuring things out for myself. So yeah, that's when it clicked for me.
Yeah, and this is like, it's absolutely a journey. You said something that's really like good. Folks say, oh, because you're a Christian sexologist, you think you figured it out. You think you have all the answers. You unearthed all the mysteries of the Holy Writ. And I'm like, I'm working on original languages just like all of y'all. I'm working on context just like y'all. And so when there was a moment when we had a conversation about masturbation, I looked at the Onan and I was just like, but I don't think that this matches what we're talking about. I was like, okay, so Onan broke the law. It was a custom that he didn't follow. So that's why he got in trouble.
It wasn't the act of spilling his seed. It was disobeying God.
It was the disobedience for God. God said it's the disobedience for me. And then there was actual like partnered sex that was happening. I was like, so, and all of those, so it never made sense to me. And then there's wrestling. And so the thing is that I love what is it? Love the Lord with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul. Love your neighbor as yourself. And that's me. You know, me and God, we good, like tight. It couldn't be, tell me where would I be if it hadn't been for the Lord? Hallelujah. However, in his word, there are some things in there that I'm just like, make it make sense, Jesus. What's happening?
And we have to remember, I was talking to my dad, who's a pastor. I said, you know, one thing I realized, usually when Jesus is talking or God, it's in red. It's not a lot of red in the Bible.
It's not. It's not.
It's
And
not.
he was only here for as we prepare for Sunday. When Sunday comes,
When Sunday comes, he got up.
Now don't start because I really will God. Listen, my spirit is very sensitive. This Good Friday and this resurrection, and I want to be somewhere tapping up somebody's hard floor in my inches. And I'm gonna praise him from the virtual space. However, it is one of those things where it's like it's a lot of things that we want to validate our statement by saying God said, Jesus said, but when we pull it back, it really is Pastor said. It really is Grandma said. It really is. I don't know who said it, but I've heard it enough that I've just taken it on as my own thing, right? And so, and that's not to say that the pastor isn't sound counsel, because there may be things that in the work, by law, everything that's lawful may not be expedient. So there may be things that you can do, but whatever you got going on in your life may not be for you to do in the moment. And good God sends us good godly counsel sometimes. And if everything that is godly isn't within the 66 books of the Bible. Because if you think that the God of the whole universe can be contained in this here little book, then you don't serve the God I serve, right?
Okay.
And so with the work that we're doing, all of us here and then others that are like us, this is ministry. They're not fitting necessarily neatly inside the four walls. I don't know, maybe one of those long t-shirt and distressed jean churches, we might work there. But in the three-piece suit churches, we may not fit there. However, this is still ministry, because if we believe God to be sovereign, if we believe him to reign on the just and the unjust, then that means, and if you believe, was it John 1:1, nothing that's been made that was made. Y'all know the word. It's in there. Look at that. Basically what it said is, if it's here, he had his hand in it, right? And so I just want my heart, and I want you all to follow me with this statement that fits for you. My heart for the people of God, particularly the Black women of God, is to be able to see their fully embodied sexual self as the work of his hand that he called very good. And when they look in the mirror, when they are in the throes of that erotic sexual ecstasy with their husbands, that they feel like they are honoring God, even in that. Because I find that because of the way we teach it, particularly in singleness, that sex still is that necessary evil, like a bad thing that God just happens to turn his back on when we're married. And so we can do it, but if God had it his way, unless we're making a baby, then we wouldn't do it. So that is my heart. So what is your heart for whatever group of people you're called to serve? And then what would you want from them if you had it your way?
If I had my way, every Black woman would be just so comfortable in her sexuality as a whole, not just in the bedroom, but as a whole, right? Because we have to do so much labor around what we wear, how we speak, how we present ourselves. And then by the time we get to the bedroom, we tired, right? We've been putting on a show all day. And we got to put on another show, get ourselves together, right? And that was, a part of my research. My dissertation research was looking at how the societal images influence how Black women carry themselves through the world, and how all of that is influenced by the word as well. And I just want Black women to feel like just powerful, right? And their sexuality, their sexual identity. Like when you walk into the bedroom or the boardroom, you just need to feel like the shit. I got this. I know what I want, and I am here to get it. No matter where it is, right? With consent, of course. But I want it, and I'm going to get it. And I'm confident about wanting these things. I'm okay if somebody says they're not into what I'm into, but I know what I like. I know it brings me pleasure, even if it's down to something small, like Dee said, ice cream. I know I want the cookies and cream ice cream. Can I get that, please?
Yes.
Right? So I just want Black women to feel empowered and just to understand that while society may paint you as one way, that's not who you are. We are created in God's image, right? And just like me and my best friend were talking earlier, I said, I feel like gold is just made for Black folks. It just look good on us, right? Right? It just look good on us. God made gold for Black people. That's how I feel, right? And if we are made in God's image, God does things for us to feel fulfilled, right? If it wasn't meant for you to be the sexual being, to feel these things before the ring got on your finger, you wouldn't feel them, right? Feel empowered, explore yourself, be happy with exploring yourself, and don't feel shamed about it.
Absolutely. And all of those things without the expectation of struggle first.
Ooh.
Without the expectation that struggle is going to earn us all of the things you just said, but that's just our right. One of my favorite listeners says we are the reason and the occasion. Just because all of those things.
Yes.
Whew, Shadi, what about you? That was good. Dr. Amanda felt like
It was. I was taking notes.
Yeah.
But my earnest hope for Black women, specifically Black Christian women, is to have the freedom to be sexual and not sexualized, to have the freedom to understand her value and not be objectified, to really take to heart Psalm 139 and understand that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And as you all said, Imago Dei, in God's image, and I am a good thing. Just to really understand and take that to heart and understand that my identity is not tied to my marital status. It's not tied to my connection to any man, the daughter of Pastor such and such. That who I am as an individual is a good thing created in God's image.
Y'all so serious. Hey, we got scholarship, we got critical commentary, we got Bible, okay, and we got culture all wrapped up in one. That's what happens here at My Vulva and Me, for, by, and about Black women. We elevate Black women, we center Black women, but we also hold Black women accountable. There are some things that Black women are the dopest. Like literally, when you think about if you go back to science, the history, the geography of where Eden was, right?
Talk about it.
Go back to science on the original human and where we all came from. Black folk. So therefore, this is a little exegetical, but ipso facto.
Come on, exegesis.
The only thing that God, during creation, the only thing that he called very good was humanity. So obviously Black women are God's favorite. That's what I got out of it when I read it. I don't know what y'all got out of it, but that's what I got out of it. However, even in God's favor, because y'all see, God called David a man after his own heart, and David was good and terrible.
Trash.
I mean,
good
and
trash. T-Rad.
Got that man killed. Got his wife pregnant, got that man killed. Y'all don't know the story of David?
Please look it up.
Mariah, go on look it up. But so the point of that is, even being God's favorite, even being the chosen one, even being the royal priesthood, the peculiar people, even being all of that, and as amazing as Black women, we got some stuff with us. So I want you all to think about what is something that you may have heard by way of constructive criticism or critique from someone in your space, someone you respect, someone, family, romantic relationship, whatever, that didn't feel good, might have stung a little bit, but it was true.
I think about how, and this is kind of, it may seem kind of surface level, but I remember one of my friends in middle school said to me, "You're too nice. People are going to run over you." And, at that time, I'm like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" But several years later, because I'm several years removed from middle school, I think about how a lot of times we're raised to be nice or good girls and have this idea of like how you should treat people, but that doesn't mean that you need to be a doormat. And so I have learned to take that and be like, you can still be nice, but you still got to cut people sometimes, and that's okay. You can cut them with love. You can correct in love. But that's one thing. It kind of stung. It was like, what you mean I'm too nice? It's like, I get what you mean, because there's the potential to be railroaded. So.
And D, that's what came up for me too.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And not just being too nice, but being seen as just a all around good girl. All around good girl. And I had to do some work with my therapist around this, because people see you like, oh, you are the good girl, your dad's a pastor, y'all are in the church. And it's kind of like, first of all, I am from the south side of Atlanta. I might, on the surface, but that goes to how you're taught to present yourself, right? And you, as I'm growing older, I'm coming into my own identity, not being the daughter of so-and-so or the niece of so-and-so, because a lot of people know my family in the Atlanta area. So I'm very cautious of how I present myself in different things like that. But at the same time, you start to realize, but is this who I really am? Is this how I want to always be presented to the world, as like this goody goody good girl, when I like to listen to Meg and Nikki and the City Girls. I like to be a city girl on my way to work. I can't be one at work, but I like to be one on the way, on the way to work, right? And I think I'm trying to shed that perception, like, yes, I'm a good person, I have a good heart, but there are so many different facets to me, and so many things that I'm interested in that don't all have to do with God and being nice to folks, right? I love Jesus, but I also like to do other things. I'm interested in other things, and I got many attitudes inside that you just have been fortunate enough not to be introduced to.
And keep on acting right, and you won't ever have to go down that road. And it's like, and I think about how respectability politics play into that, because we get it from the society, but then we also get it from internal, like an inter community, where it's just like, you got on this red lipstick, and only certain people wear red lipstick or red fingernails, or why you got that thong on. I think that might be the reason why I don't wear those today. I feel like that's one of the things, because it's interesting, like growing up, my family was as saved and as churchy as I am. I'm about the only one. You look at my family, it wasn't. That's how I know when God say I want that one, when he said he'd leave the 99 and go back and get the one, that was me, because my family did. My mom went to church with the guy she was dating. We got saved that day, and then they were together. And then when they weren't together no more, she had no reason to go to church anymore. But I was still 14 years old trying to find me a church home. And me and Jesus, you didn't have to sell Jesus for me. What, this man like me, know all about me, know how annoying I am, and still want to spend time, and then get mad when I don't talk to him? Oh yeah, this is it. And so when I think about how the messages from folks who are like steeped in church, I didn't really have a lot of that, right? A lot of my unlearning came from supposed to be as like not wanting to get in trouble. I had that single mom who ruled with an iron fist. And so like, even as like, experiencing sexual assault, I wasn't worried about calling the cops. No, because if I called the cops, she wouldn't know where I was, and I wasn't supposed to be there. I told her I was going somewhere else. So that a lot of my, and when I had my sexual debut, she looked at me. I didn't come home that night. We went to the hair store the next morning. She looked at me and was like, "You nasty." And I was like, "What?" And she's like, And then she's like, "Go get me a comb." And that was the extent of our sex talk. So a lot of my issues were just ignorance and not really having anywhere to turn. Like I didn't have, and I think that might really serve me in the role as a Christian sexologist, because I know Jesus, and I was able to come to know Jesus, not because it's just other people's relationship with God is not real, but like in a real way. Like I got to meet the Jesus of the Bible, like the actual Jesus of the Bible, so that when it was time to decide that what I was going to do in my life, I was like, the Jesus this ain't it. And so I could give like my evangelism and me pushing the gospel by way of sex ed is like, I didn't have to unpack none of that stuff. And it's just like so amazing to think about what that's like. But then also disheartening, because we know that so many women don't have that same thing. So as we get ready to close, first of all, thank you. This was fun to try.
Absolutely, I had a great time.
I love you. So per custom with my Vulva and me, we like to close with what it means to be a Black woman for you. And then after you share that, let everybody know where they can stay in contact with you, what you have going on that you want folks to support, and any other thing, any like closing remarks or words that you have for the people. But start with what being a Black woman to me is. Okay.
I'll go. I'll say being a Black woman for me is freedom. I think about how we have the ability to present ourselves in so many different ways, not necessarily for the adoration of others, but for self-expression. And the diversity amongst Black women inspires me and keeps me going. And yeah, being a Black woman is lit. I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Literally this is episode 7. Literally everybody said it. Literally everybody said that exact same. Being a Black woman is lit. Like literally everybody. It's amazing.
It is. I love it. Our history, our culture, and the diversity within that, and the ability to explore all of that. So you can find me at Sankofa Sex on Instagram and Twitter. And Sankofa is spelled S as in Sam, Ankofa. And I have a book chapter coming out in a forthcoming book. Not sure when it's going to be published, but it is all about doing sexuality and relationship therapy with people of color. And so every chapter is written by a therapist or a sexuality educator or a sexologist, a person of color, and working within those communities. And so my chapter is about working with Black Christians specifically who are looking to create their own sexual ethic, but still remain connected to the faith. So yeah.
So good. Oh, I need that. I get the director's cut before.
I got you. I send you the chapter. I got you.
Oh, awesome.
Slide it in our group chat.
Yes.
Slide it in our group chat.
Got you.
Dr. Amanda.
So for me, being a Black woman is a privilege. I just love being Black, right? I love being Black, and I love being a Black woman. We go through so much, but even still, I just couldn't imagine living my life any other way. From our swag to how we swoop our baby hairs and how we influence the culture, down to respectability politics. So if you don't know where that came from, slide in my DMs and we could talk about it. That's a Black woman thing, but we run out of time. So we are the influencers and the tastemakers of the world, right? I couldn't imagine being a part of any other tribe. I just love being Black. It's like the best thing ever. Okay.
No, it really is though.
Real.
Right? Even with our struggles and our ups and downs, like I said, I just couldn't imagine being a part of any other culture. So where can you find me? You can find me in a couple of places. So you can find me on Instagram in 2 different places. So you can find me at the Amanda Nicholson, and Nicholson is spelled Nicholson, not Nicholas, but Nicholson. You can also find me on Instagram and YouTube at The Prude's Guide. So Prude, you heard that right, at The Prude's Guide. So we do have a YouTube channel. Right now, I am currently on break because I am tired. I wrote a dissertation. I finished it last year and I am on a break. But we will be coming back soon. And The Prude's Guide will be offering different events, possibly some coaching, and retreats and different things for Black women of faith.
She wrote a dissertation and created a theory, but she's gonna be modest, but I'm not.
Yeah, I'm a
Right.
A whole theory, y'all. But so you know, Erickson, Freud, Nicholson, you know, it's all. Okay.
Yeah, one day y'all gonna be quoting me, Nicholson 2020. Okay.
Yes.
2020. All right.
Y'all heard it right. So thank you so much, Dee and Dr. Amanda. This was amazing. I knew this was everything that I knew it was going to be. This was the Save the Sexual Takeover. Black women love Jesus and sex. We are, as I said, episode 7. We have one more episode left, and it is the season finale with none other than the Danielle Young. Jesus, who am I that you are mindful of me? Okay, listen, I am so excited. This is the perfect person to just round out an absolutely amazing season. We did something new this year. This season with pre-recording instead of doing it live, and I learned a lot of work. So y'all better watch every minute of these episodes. But it was amazing. I am so excited. As I said, I'm Brittany Broaddus-Smith, founder of Intimacy Firm and creator of my Vulva, the web series. Make sure you are following me at the Intimacy Firm, THEINTIMACYFIRM, on everything, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and watch out for, if you have not submitted already, the call for submission is out for my Vulva and Me Volume 2. Dear Little Black Girl, Letters to Our Daughters. We want to hear your voice. We want to hear your story. A little Black girl somewhere needs to know what you've been through and how you overcame, and I am waiting. What you waiting on? This year, we're also going to be doing it in Audible, because you can write it, but then when the Black woman put her sauce on it, it's therapy. But thank you so much. It's been amazing, and we will catch you on Thursday.
My Vulva and Me.